We've got to be out of here at 3:45. There's another meeting going. I'll call this meeting of our second land use plan meeting to order. So we'll start with the roll call. Vicki Myers here. Mark Fleischauer, he is excused. He is having a knee surgery this week. Tracy Thomas?
Here.
Greg Shue? He's absent. Bob Hunter? Absent. Woody Tyner?
Here.
Pete Palace?
Here.
Ann Arnold?
She's here.
Yeah.
She's
Catherine Gaines?
here.
And Dwight Willis?
Here.
Okay. Minutes were not on our agenda, but we probably need to discuss those. A couple people contacted me, and there needed to be some changes, and I saw we got a new set that came out. There probably also needs to be some changes to those. There was typographical as well as some content and omissions. So with the committee's permission, we will work on those and revise them and work on those, approve those at our next meeting. Can I have a motion to that effect?
A motion that we do that?
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Okay, I would also like to modify our agenda and add public comment to the end of the agenda just at the end before we adjourn, to let anyone that had any questions or comments ask them. So with the committee's permission, is that okay? Do we have a motion to that
Make a
effect?
motion.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carried unanimously. Okay. Did you want to take over? Did you want to start with the survey? Because I think there's a whole lot of questions
Sure.
about this survey.
Yep, and I've got sort of the outline so I can start. So, exactly. Today, I'm going to give you guys an update on the community survey. Seems like we sort of hit a roadblock on getting some responses. We got another notification out, and our responses have ballooned. So we're doing fantastic on the survey. So we've got, as of this morning, about 640 responses. Friday, we had 583, and I'm going to give you a preliminary overview of those results here first. And then the majority of the time of the meeting will be going over the first two chapters, chapter 1 and 2 review, and then to close the meeting, we will distribute. I've got your next homework set for you, chapter 3.
Okay, just a couple questions.
Here comes Greg.
I'm sorry.
Greg
what?
is coming in the door.
Okay, great.
Okay.
He can join us.
Okay.
We agreed last time that the goal of the survey was maximum participation. Is that correct?
Well, I think there was, yes, maximum participation. However, the notification of the survey was only going to be sent out through the water bill.
Yeah, see, I didn't remember that either. I thought we had agreed that we were going to send it out to the HOA DL distribution list.
Okay,
That
well,
we had.
that's fine, but my understanding is it was not going to be posted on like the town's website. If that is I do believe.
I think we need, as a meeting, we need to clarify all that at the end, because we had all sorts of discussions of we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and that's why that's the kind of stuff I would have hoped to see in the meeting minutes. What did we agree on? And I'm not sure we actually agreed on anything, and that's maybe why they weren't there, because we went round and round on lots of things on the survey.
Sure. My understanding is that it was not to be plastered on the town's website, and that our first course of action was to send that out via the water bill to all the property owners.
Send a link or send the actual survey?
Send a link that with just a little brief description that says, here's the survey, here's the survey link, please go visit this site and take the survey.
I got mine by email.
Okay.
We
And
had,
You
we
didn't
had
get it in
discussion
your-
about including a piece of paper in it too.
In the
in the water bill.
We did have discussion about that, but
Yeah.
again, I'm not sure we concluded
Yeah, the
anything.
minutes, that's one of the issues of the minutes. It
Okay.
didn't say what decision we made.
all right,
Right.
we can go back to the. I guess we need to go back to the recording, but yeah, my understanding is that it was to be in the water bill as the first course of action, and I suppose I do believe that you guys are part of that homeowners association, and I think there was discussion about distributing it via that site, but I think that was sort of left to your discretion. And if you did,
We did.
that's totally fine. I have no problem with that. I mean, ultimately, you guys are overseeing this to some degree. So, if we have gathered a bunch of responses through that avenue, that's fantastic. As far as I'm concerned.
So, yeah, it doesn't matter what we recorded last time. I think we just all need to decide what we really want to do.
Okay.
Like how we want it. Make sure that we do it. If we didn't do something, we want to do it. And if we did do something, oh well. So we got it in the water bill 2 times. And I think it worked. I know I had some discussion with people that it wasn't working, but I do think it did work. We sent it out to the distribution list of the Property Owners Association. We also put it in the newsletter of the property owners. Did we post it on the?
Sunshine list, I think came out.
Well, did we send out a blast to people of the town, and
was
did
a
we
town,
put it on the
yes.
town
It was a
website?
town email.
It went by email.
The
So we
Sunshine.
did
Yeah,
send
we-
it to the town,
We sent out a blast.
which I'm not sure we had agreed to, but that's neither here nor there because it's
Some
already.
of us don't open the water bills, we give it to our accountant, so.
Then you would have gotten the homeowners thing though.
I got the email from town.
Okay,
Which is
and
a cover.
I heard it was in the newspaper, the Brunswick newspaper, which is
It was.
way out of where we wanted
Now,
it to be.
I saw it.
And maybe that's why you got a huge
now,
response.
Put it in
so
the newspaper.
the Beacon
I don't know.
can get a hold of whatever they want. I mean, if
How
it
was
did-
the blast?
It's public record.
yeah, I mean, it's technically public record. Now, I will show you when we get to the results here. I mean, I think it's 97% of the responses are property owners. So,
Okay.
which is
That's awesome.
which is what I anticipated, and I we can talk about the merits of the truth behind that matter, but you're getting property owner responses, and based on it, I'm pretty confident that that's what it is, and in fact, the majority of them are second property owners. No surprise there, but if you guys want to jump into some of those results, we can talk about those right now.
So my question to you is, do you think we have enough, or should we?
That's what we.
Yes.
So
Well,
So we did everything.
and now something else we'll bring up. We said we were gonna put a due date on it, and we did.
So we did. There was a due date
In
on
the
there
water
as the
bill, there
first
was,
round,
yeah.
and then Hurricane Florence came, and
So
You
we
know.
didn't plan to cut it off.
that is what I want to talk to you guys about. Let's go through these preliminary results, if that's okay with you, and then we'll
Sure.
have that discussion. I think we're sitting at close to 700 responses. I think I feel pretty satisfied with that. I was in our initial discussion. I said it'd be great if we can get 600, and we've already surpassed that. So,
Is this data anonymous?
yes.
So you don't get any,
I mean, I can look up their IP addresses if
so
need
then
be.
if you did get the data, can we sort it by IP address and determine then if they're duplicated? Can I dedupe that data?
You can, I think, if you want.
So Tim's concerned then about a lot of people taking it more than one time. It's
People have
not,
contacted you about that, right?
Yeah, we actually had I had 2 different phone calls about because they got one from the town and one from another place, and they said they took it twice, and then they got our second one in the water bill, and they wanted to know if they were the same, and I said yes, they are the same, and so that was my concern. The other concern I had was that when we sent it out in the water bills, and anyone who had property got it, had access to it. When you send it out to the Home Builders Association or the Homeowners Association, my concern is that the folks that own commercial property you know what I mean, didn't get it.
Right, so at least it's a subset of the other, though.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, but
I
I'm
mean,
just saying that was just my concern. But that's such a small number, the commercial part would be such a small number, I
Yeah.
don't even know if it would have an impact
It-
on the
We
survey.
have a number of commercial businesses.
In the
that are-
homeowners.
That are homeowner
Yeah,
associations.
yeah.
Typically,
Oh, so
unfortunately,
there's a number of them that are
I
members.
didn't see mermaids, but I've seen some of the other businesses.
gotta get
I
on
got
that,
some.
Pete.
I got it my water bill with mermaids.
There you go.
Well, you know how it is, somebody says, I didn't get it. Everybody else had 2 chances, I didn't get 2 chances.
it's
It'll happen, you know what I mean? But
par
it's just a
for the
survey.
course.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you, in my experience in conducting well over 24 of these, and conducting these for your adjacent beach towns, this is exactly what I anticipated. Vast majority of property owner responses, the majority of those are going to be second home, but then it's still pretty good response rate from your year-round folks, and very little response from non-resident folks. You can see here, and this is I did this on Friday. So we've had even more responses, but I didn't want to go back through and rerun all the numbers. So this is as of Friday, 593 responses, 544 were property owners, 128 year-round, 414 second home, and then 2 business owners, and then 49 non-resident responses composed of seasonal visitors and renters.
So are we gonna get this electronically so I don't have to bother trying to write any of this down? You're gonna send this out?
Sure,
through
absolutely.
Tim?
Yep.
Thank
Send
you.
it to me, I'll mail it out.
Thank you.
I noticed that that's like 25% across the board. That, except for the year-round residents, they were a little low, but the rest of them are like 25% across the board.
So
Pretty good turnout.
yes, I think so. You find that in the beach communities, folks are more inclined to want to, voice their concerns or participate. We go right up the road to Charlotte, and it's hard to get 100 responses to a very similar survey, distributed the same way, and in fact, sometimes we provide even more notification to get folks to take the survey. Now, I'm going to explain to you some of this. It's going to be hard to see where we're all sitting here. This is the question number 1, what kinds of new private development would you most like to see in Holden Beach? No surprise here, the number 1 response was low-density single-family homes, closely followed by small businesses that serve the needs of residents, and then third being entertainment-type options, restaurants, recreation, etc. Those by and large outweighed all the other responses. This is also typical to the recent surveys we've done over the last two years in Ocean Isle and Sunset Beach, almost identical. So, the ones, of course, no surprise, receiving the littlest response being multifamily residences at 1.69. Question number 2, what do you consider to be the most important roles for the town to play in influencing the character of development on Holden Beach? 1, overwhelmingly being protecting the beach and encourage continued coastal storm damage reduction and beach protection. That's followed by managing the density and intensity of new development by regulating the size and layout of lots and buildings. 3, being retain and enhance community appearance through landscaping, sign, lighting, and architectural standards. We had a number of open-ended comments regarding the causeway entrance, even though that's off the island. That's no surprise. We all anticipated that would be the case. Receiving the least amount of responses, that there's other there, but improving flexibility of town regulations. Folks are not necessarily interested in relaxing those regulations. So it sounds like you still got a job, Tim. What do you think are the most important growth and development issues facing Holden Beach? Number 1 being, again, related to coastal storm damage protection and beach protection, followed by density of development, and then environmental protection. So those are the 3 highest responses.
You don't reckon that because that one's so high in both of them, you don't reckon it's a little bit skewed that we sent a survey out right during a storm?
Well, It may be, but you know, we
It
had the
was
same
by
thing
some- everybody's
in Ocean Isle, and there was no.
Really?
Well, that survey preceded Matthew, and we still had number on, I believe, in similarly worded questions, coastal storm damage reduction at the top. Again, related to regulation, folks are not concerned of overburdensome growth management regulations at all. So, you know, that's no surprise. This will all be thoroughly analyzed and put into your document so people can actually read it and understand it a little bit better. But, you know, the charts will be there in a couple sentences about each response.
But you'll go ahead and send this to us like
Yep.
soon.
Yep, and Rhonda's got a copy.
So
of
I'd
this.
also be curious if you could run it and see if there's any difference when you take out the non-residents. Can you do that?
You mean the second homeowners?
No, the non-residents, the 49 people that were non-residents.
Sure. Yeah.
Can you run the survey and see what it looks like without them?
Yep.
Or can you just send us the data?
Yeah, I can send you the
Well,
data.
actually, I'd rather have them crunch the data for me.
Okay.
I mean, just send it this way and then send it
Well,
again without
so-
them in there.
So, but this information goes into the, I mean, are we just going to use this information, or are we not going to provide this information into the plan?
It'll go into the plan, and you know, there will be, you know, and I can filter the results by non-resident and see, you know, based on the questions, non-residents felt X, Y, Z compared to the property owners, and that's
I'm
what
just
I've done in
curious
the
to see
past.
if they'd skew any of it.
There's sometimes some items I haven't looked at it yet, and what we'll do is for next meeting, I'll be sure to have some bulleted, you know, where there is any sort of deviation in those responses. And once we get through these couple questions here, we're going to talk about how long we want to keep this survey if we're satisfied with what we've got. Number 4, what efforts do you believe are the most important to the economy of Holden Beach? Again, encouraging storm damage, coastal storm damage reduction and beach protection, followed by encouraging redevelopment of existing business centers and encouraging more permanent residents. Those are the, by and large, 3 highest responses. Although closely followed in number 4, attracting more shopping and restaurants. So that's pretty close to the permanent residents response. Least response was attract national regional chains and
No Burger King?
Yeah, no surprise there as well. 5, what do you consider to be the most important transportation issues for Holden Beach? 1, roadway drainage. Now this is unique to Holden Beach. You see in a lot of other beach towns, there's a skewing of folks are interested in having bike ped facilities, things of that nature. But clearly, this is very important to folks. Number 2 being maintenance of existing roadways, and number 3 is where we have the lack of facilities for bicycles and pedestrians. Poor lighting and lack of public transportation received the fewest number of responses. Number 6.
I got a curiosity
Yes,
question.
sir.
If I didn't think there was any transportation issues, where would I have voted?
You could have done other as one of your responses, you know, but generally you got to select what you closely think to be the transportation issues are.
Well, the thing that struck me was there were several of these questions that assumed there was an issue.
Sure.
You just had to pick which issue you felt like.
That's right.
But there may not be an issue.
Well, and that's right, and it may be in the eye of the beholder. You know, it's unfortunately the way some of these surveys I tend to word them is because folks can find issues much more easily than they can find objective, positive things about a place. Shocking, I know, but it's just sort of the way that it goes.
It just kind of struck me as I was going through it. I was like, well, I'm okay with most of the transportation, you know.
Right. but that's a good point. What do you consider to be the most important issues related to environment and natural resources of Holden Beach? Again, we've got beach island erosion, way above the other responses. Second, maintaining a pristine beach. And then third, there's a couple of ones that are kind of mixed in here in the 30 range. Water quality of ocean and estuarine areas, drinking water quality, and then land and wildlife conservation are kind of all mixed in as the same sort of response rate. Number 7, what do you consider to be most important in creating recreational opportunities on Holden Beach? First, being constructing off-road pedestrian and cycling greenways. Second, being constructing sidewalks and on-road bike lanes. And then third, creating more public access locations for water-based recreation. And there didn't, apart from the greenway facilities, these are all there's not anything that's overwhelmingly higher than another per se. The one that received the least number of responses was developing new locations for outdoor events. But there is apparently some preferences as far as recreation here for bike ped facilities. Which statement best describes your relationship to the town of Holden Beach? Second, homeowner or property owner, year-round resident property owner, overwhelmingly above the others. And then you've got a couple of seasonal visitors and tourists, off-island residents of Brunswick County. And there was a limited number of others. I think that they weren't quite sure where to put themselves.
So the last one, can't read it.
And year-round resident renter.
Renter.
Very small number of respondents. Number 9, the question was, what is your favorite thing about Holden Beach? I think this is probably no surprise to most of you guys. Lack of commercial development, uncrowded, clean beaches, family-friendly, natural resources, beaches, quiet, off-season solitude, and mostly single-family houses.
So that was a write-in?
Yes, that was a write-in, and that's a general gist of
Yep.
of the those responses. So that's sort of where we are on the survey. I would anticipate that that's sort of in line with what you guys would anticipate the results are. The one unique thing I pointed out was the roadway drainage response, as far as as we're comparing other beach communities' responses to similar surveys. But mostly you're pretty similar in your responses to similar other beach communities. So that being said, what do you guys want to do about the survey? You want to give it till the end of the month and cut it off, or do we want to cut it off now?
I actually got asked at lunchtime today when the deadline was.
Okay.
Jay Holden asked me when that deadline was going to be.
Well, if we did it October 31st, that would give everybody plenty of time to do it and give you plenty of time to, before the next meeting. That's what I would suggest.
Okay. And the follow-up question to that is there a reason that the town should send out an email via Sunshine List or the HOA list to inform folks that if you have not taken this yet, your last chance to do so will be October 31st, or we just want to leave it as is?
I just got mine the other day,
Okay.
and that was the first thing I've seen on it at
Okay.
all.
How did you get it?
Email
From who?
From the blast, I
from the
think.
town.
You don't get a water bill?
No. I mean, yes, we do, but my husband does it.
Most people don't look at it. You had to look to see it. It wasn't like it was separated out.
Yeah, the
So a
first
lot of people
month,
probably missed it.
it was I had to look. I knew it was coming and I didn't know quite where it was. But the second, this one I guess it really stood out because it had to do with the beach and had another
So you were
couple
looking
other
at it.
events that were, kind of drew you down, oh, what's this here? But the first month, I think it was the only thing on there. You really kind of, if you weren't looking for it, which I was, I'd have missed it.
Because I'm gonna keep that in mind because we use that an awful lot. The town uses that water bill an awful lot to put information out there.
We have auto pay, so,
I don't see mine.
We do too, but
But
I
we
still
don't
get
see
my
it.
water bill.
Yeah, I look at it too. I'm on auto pay. I look at it. And I thought it was going to be a separate, because when you do get separate things in there, you definitely look at it.
Yeah, we use that awful lot. Town uses that a lot.
Yeah.
Get information out.
Yeah.
The only time I look at anything other than the numbers, if that number is way off of where it used to be.
There you go.
That's what I do.
and I'll also tell you that the HOA has sent mailings to the water list and had a whole bunch returned. So, your mailing list is not great.
I have nothing to do with that.
I know, just FYI.
But I'm assuming that everybody's paying their water bill.
Yeah, but I
Or
mean,
else they'll cut it off. But
they update it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it updates.
Yeah, if they're having it drafted, it don't matter where the bill goes or if it goes in the garbage can, you know?
So, do you guys want to leave it as is or send out one last notification? It's completely up to
I
you.
can send out one to the HOA tonight.
I think one more needs to
Okay.
go out, just a last shot.
so you want to do it one last blast?
Sunshine list.
Okay, so one from the town, one to the sunshine list, and then one to the,
That is the
That
town.
is the blast. Is the
Okay.
The
sunshine list.
sunshine list is the town.
Okay.
well, she's got a list, she calls it sunshine list. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, so the town's gonna send it to Sunshine List and you're gonna send it out to the HOA again. Both of them will say the deadline's October
And
October
31st.
we're only sending to people who have paid their dues this year, so it's like 500 people.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good.
We may get another couple. I don't anticipate to double it by any stretch of the imagination,
If
but
you've already taken it, don't take it again.
Right, that's the other thing.
Well, that'll go out in our blast. I'll
Yeah.
say it'll go out in
I'll
ours.
put it, yeah, I'll put it in there.
yeah,
Just think
you
it's
could,
gonna look.
yeah.
I
It'll be
can do that, I don't mind doing that.
final
don't worry.
reminder.
But
Final.
The IP address is a good idea, but suppose two of us use the same computer at my
That
house.
that is
Sure.
that is
Right.
what happens.
So-
And you
I'm sure
know,
my husband didn't take his, so,
yeah.
yeah.
You know, if you saw an IP address that there's 15 surveys, you may have some concern, but
Well, I mean, I could do that and just look and, do it manually and look and see if there's 15, we're gonna assume that was that's
Skewed.
somebody trying to,
Manipulate.
yeah.
the,
If
the,
there's 2, we're gonna assume that was a husband
Yeah.
or wife, but.
the good thing is we have enough responses that presumably if there's a couple of folks that took it more than once and they shouldn't have, they're not going to overwhelm the results of this survey.
And I'm not sure what their motivation would be for wanting to do it.
Right.
Wanting to skew the results.
That's right.
It's not like we're voting for president or something.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It's not earth shattering. It's not going to change the world.
That's right. There's no expenditures involved here.
Yeah.
We're just gauging what folks think about the.
But I don't think there's any indication in the survey that it was skewed in any way. Not from
I
the
agree.
stuff I saw. I didn't
Yeah.
see.
So really, this is nothing we need
Yeah,
to even worry
yeah.
about.
You didn't all of a sudden see one of the slides that had something that jumps out at you,
No.
like somebody took it 100 times and
That's
got their
right.
point across.
Yep.
I don't think
Now,
that's in there.
going back to Tracy's question, I think we said we were only, or mainly interested in folks that were on the island.
Mm-hmm.
So the folks that said they were renters or whatever that 49 was,
Mm-hmm.
should we exclude those responses?
It's up to you.
Well, that's why I asked him to show us the data. Does the data look any different with or without?
Yeah, and I can look at it, and 49 out of however many is not gonna skew it one way or another. Now,
There's about 8%.
and let's see
Yeah,
what
and
the
there's only 128 permanent residents, so that's,
That's
all,
right.
almost half of, they got 49 versus, it's still a pretty significant number.
yeah, and
people.
there's so off island resident was only 2.3, and then you had your seasonal visitor / tourist. I'm assuming what those folks are your weekly renters that come down, or and so that's a little bit higher there. So they have,
So they'd also be in that 49
they would be.
non-residents.
That's right. but they're coming here and spending money. So, and then also in that year-round, basically the way that it's separated is property owners and non-property owners. So anyone that's non-property owners is in that 49 number.
I think if you run it, it will probably still show the top three of the
Yep.
top three, but I'd like to see that anyway,
Absolutely.
just for
Yep.
giggles.
Yep.
Yeah, the point I was making, that we want to make a decision. I agree, you want to look at the data, but we won't go ahead and make a decision. We want to exclude it.
Well, we can't make that decision until he
Sure
shows
you
us the
can.
data.
Yeah, you can. You can just say, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Take it out.
Well, you
Not-
could,
but
but I'd rather see the data before I make a decision, right?
Okay, so we're gonna wait until we see the data.
Then make
And,
it.
and the other way that it can be handled is that when I write the responses to this, and it's put in that plan where there is deviation, it'll be noted,
Right.
and perhaps
Isn't our economy dominated by tourism? Why would we
Yes.
want to?
I don't want to exclude them.
no. I would want to note, the non-property owners felt differently about this question, if there is, and then otherwise the response, there won't be any additional notation. But we can talk about this,
The only reason I brought it up is because we had a lot of conversation last time about we didn't want
Right.
a lot of people on the mainland side answering it for,
Right.
for the folks over here. So that's the
That's
only
right.
reason I'm bringing it up. I'm not advocating
One way or
or the other. To Tracy's point, you can show the data
Yeah.
both ways, but we can just say, hey, we don't want to see that at
Yeah.
all, or yes, we do want to see
Well,
it.
here's I want to say this. I don't understand the logic behind seeing that data with it or seeing the data without it. I do understand the logic of excluding it, but I don't understand the logic of I want to see what the data looks with it and what the data looks without it. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
I do understand
Yeah,
the
that's-
logic of
Okay, so
excluding.
how can I know if I want to exclude it you still have to show me the data with it excluded?
Well, that was the point I was trying to make. You could just say, look, we really don't want that input. It's not germane because it's renters or it's seasonal folks or whatever. So go back and run your charts and take that data out.
Right.
I mean, if you see with and without, it may say, yeah, they really did mess up the data. But the question is, do you want to include that data or not? You gotta make a conscious decision. Do I want those folks in or I want them out?
Yeah, you're deciding after you see the results as to whether you want it in. And I'm not.
That's
You're
right,
making
because
a
I want to see
decision
if they
whether
skew the
you want
data
to
or not. That's
Skew it or not.
I think
I wanna
we
see
should
if they are
look
skewing
at it. I think that
Whether
it
you
should
want
be
to skew it or not.
qualified and in the text that the response rate from non-residents was different here, XYZ. And I think that it is interesting also for the town to know if there are differences from a seasonal visitor or that they feel this way about the island. I think that is interesting for the town to know. But it will be qualified that they only took up this number of responses, 49.
Yep.
And is not going to necessarily sway any policy. It's just information for folks to know.
Non-resident, non-property owners.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. And then if we need to change it, we can change it. Because this all will be draft. You guys will get it in the, written as material. And if we're not satisfied, then we'll just change it.
Okay. Is everybody good with that?
Yep.
Okay. So, October 31st,
Deadline.
HOA and sunshine list.
Yep. And Tim, you're gonna take care of sending.
And both of them are going to say, do not take it again.
That's
If
right.
you've already taken it.
Yes, this is your final reminder. If you have not taken the survey yet, please do so.
And you're going to send us, go ahead and send us what we're talking about here so that we can review it. And
Yes,
then,
the PowerPoint or the data.
either. And Rhonda, you already have a copy of this slideshow
Yes.
today, right? You could
I
just
can
go ahead and
send
send that, but then could you just go ahead and after we close it out on the 31st, could you send us a copy of what we ended up with?
Yes.
How would that be? Is that okay with everybody?
Sure.
Just so we can, you
Like
probably
an
guys
Excel
probably aren't
file?
as into it as me, right?
I'm interested in final numbers. I
Yeah.
care less about what today's numbers
So
are.
on the 31st, you're going to send out the new data plus it filtered with non-residents. You'll send us 2 sets of data?
Yes, I can do that. I'll send a summary. results. What is the 31st? That's next Wednesday. Summary results. Now it'll probably be okay.
It'll take a few days because it shuts down on the 31st.
Yeah,
so
so
that'll
it may be that Monday
Yeah, that's fine.
following. Okay. Yep. All right. Good. So I'm satisfied too, by the way, that we've gotten this amount of participation. Is very good.
Good.
All right, moving on. So before we get started, about this is where folks, you should, if you have concerns, questions, clarifications, things that need to be added, things that need to be deleted, we need to discuss. And if there's any overarching questions before we begin, now would be the time. All right.
On the acknowledgement page, you need to add a new member.
And you've got a new, thank you, that's a very good point. You've got a new table of contents we'll give you today. What we've added is it's called the Land Use Plan Steering Committee. You guys are still on there, but it's just another committee that's on there.
Do we want to just go through this page by page? Is that how you want to do it?
Yes, that whichever is easiest, and page by page is fine.
And then I just had a couple of general questions. Do you want those now?
Sure.
Are you going to give us a revised work plan schedule?
I can.
Because we have a lot of changes that we talked about last month. This one. For example,
Now
our next meeting
is the 22nd.
the 22nd, right? Also, we talked about that would be January 22nd. In February would be our first public engagement session.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay.
But those are the only changes.
Well, June 26th is really the 25th. Right?
And then we said another public input meeting in September.
Yep.
And then I had another just general question. We've got November, December DCM review, and then December to February of 2020 Board of Commissioner review approval. I just wondered why DCM approves it before the Board of Commissioners approves it, because if it's just a draft going to,
So the way it works
they'll make
this
changes.
Who's DCM?
Division of Coastal
Coastal
Management.
Management.
All they do is once it's out of the planning board's hands, the district planner needs to ensure that we have included all of the 7B guideline requirements. So if the commissioners start pulling out 7B requirements, then I will explain to them that the plan will not be approved by CRC. But that's the protocol that the state guidelines call for. Planning board, DCM district planner, Board of Commissioner approval, then it goes to CRC, which essentially is now but yes, that's a good question.
Now the staff.
Yeah, now
They
it's the
can go ahead
staff.
and make all the edits they want, and then it'll go back kind of.
So long as
essentially.
it remains
remove.
compliant with the 7B guidelines, CRC will approve it.
Okay.
Yeah, you're a filler. You're filling information inside the 7B guidelines.
And so that's what, and that big matrix is for. Once we get done with the plan, there'll be page number references all in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they use that for a guideline.
That is correct, because they don't want to have to find it themselves.
That's right.
So,
Every agency does that.
so you
Every
will,
agency.
provide an update
Yes.
to our original question. All those changes.
Okay.
And what we'll need to do is, I suppose, see, we're going to meet January 22nd. We probably can determine our public input meeting date on the 22nd.
Okay.
I would think. If it's later in February, that should give us enough time to get get the word out. It's probably a little too far out to nail down a date, I would think. If that's okay with you all, is that
It's good with me.
okay?
Just asking because we had another meeting for February 26th.
Right.
So.
What I would recommend is that it be, like a week before that, so that we'll meet again in February and we can talk about how public engagement went and so
Okay.
forth. Or a couple days before, or something to that effect. All right. Any other general questions? Okay. On to the material.
Okay.
So it's 2:40. So we've got about an hour here.
Okay.
So 1-1.
I'm back on page I. Can we,
Okay.
Sorry. Is this 2019 instead of 2018?
It can be.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can we get the Board of Commissioners, can we get Alan Holden, Mike Sullivan, and then put those alpha?
Yes.
And then under, you already said you called it Land Use Plan Steering Committee.
And Tyner is not.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Tyner was
Yes.
misspelled, and
Mhm.
you're going to add the 3. And then can we get those guys in alpha too?
Yes.
And then shouldn't Rhonda be added?
Sure. All right. And are you just CAMA LPO,
That's fine for this.
boss of everything?
It's for this, it
Yeah.
would be LPO.
All right. Okay.
On the next page, I had a typo under how to use this plan. That N should be lowercase. Chapter 1, last line.
Okay.
Right here, that's the cap.
Oh, my goodness.
Sorry, I just,
Hey Wes, you can look at this when we get into the materials, but you got on page 3, you got table 212, and you make a reference to table 2.12,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't see a table 2.12.
And I think it's that last table, and if it is, it just needs to be labeled.
The very back.
Oh, yeah, it says 212.
It's in the very back.
Very bad.
Last page on the back.
Oh, never mind, didn't see that.
It's all right. The matrix is pulled right from 7B. There's nothing in there yet. Question, are we on to 1-1?
I'm up to 1-3.
Anything on 1-1 or 1-2? 1.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about CAMA and the CAMA process and all this stuff wrapped up in CAMA. But is there a CAMA plan?
Yes.
This,
And should we look at what the CAMA plan says as it impacts this?
this is,
CAMA plan.
this
Where
will,
states come from.
this will be the replacement of your CAMA plan. That is your current CAMA plan.
Mm-hmm.
The state has now said that we don't have to specifically call them CAMA plans, that, there are the town's land use plans, satisfies the CAMA requirements. There's some,
Same.
they're one and the same. There's sometimes, I don't know, depending on who you ask, negative connotations with calling them the CAMA plans rather than calling it the town's land use plan.
Okay, so they
There's
are
one and
the
the
same
same.
thing,
Yep,
just two
yep,
different names?
yep.
Okay.
They call them CAMA plans because they were required.
Yep,
Everybody else wasn't required to have one, but it essentially was a land use plan.
that's right.
Yeah, 20 counties were required to have it.
Mhm.
That's the way it was.
Initially, yep. 1-3.
I had some questions.
Mm-hmm.
About the middle of the page, public water supplies. we have none, right?
That's right.
And natural cultural resource areas, we have none, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
And the material you'll be given today says exactly
Should we
that.
say that? We have none here? Just for clarity?
I can add it there. This is just a description of CAMA's procedures. In
I don't know,
chapter
just kind of boilerplate, but
in chapter 3, it specifically says there are no public water supplies and there are no natural cultural resource areas.
Yeah, but I don't know that it's all that proper to remove it from this section.
That's right.
I don't want to remove it. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if we should say, as it applies to Holden Beach.
This is a general description of what CAMA covers,
Right,
not specific to us.
right.
So why would you have to, if you have none, why would you have to say you have none?
I
Well,
think it's okay, because he says that we have none in the next
Chapter
chapter
three,
when we
it says
talk
we don't
about
have
us,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, that's correct.
my other question is down regarding AECs.
Mhm.
Are we going to have a map of those on Holden Beach?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, you're getting one today. And so basically, those are, the mapped ones are your coastal wetlands and your estuarine waters. Of course, your ocean shoreline is all in AEC. But yes, that'll be on a map.
Great.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Where you at?
I'm at the bottom of
1-4.
page 4.
Is that 1.5?
1.4.
To be completed.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
to
to
be
be
completed.
completed, and then
Yeah.
it says, part of this, our land use plan is intended to inform the public on the importance of planning, the role of their town government plays in managing development and possible impacts of unmanaged development and the utility of preserving natural resources. How will we do this? How are we informing the public on the importance of this? Or is that going to be in the to be completed part?
Sure. I mean, the to be completed will basically be those results that we just had.
Right.
And then you are going to have, throughout the chapters that are delivered, discussing the importance of various different things, depending of course, if you guys agree that they're important, but we now know that certain things are very important to Holden Beach, and then the policies help spell out those things that
Okay.
are important.
Hey, Wes,
Yes, sir.
and I don't know if this is real pertinent or not, but in the old plan or the current plan, on page 1, there's several sentences that talks about that this plan was built on previous plans.
Mm-hmm.
And encompasses all geographic areas. And just, like I said, there's 3 or 4 sentences there at the top of page 2. I wonder if that would be good information to include in this plan. I'm looking at the old plan.
Yes.
Is this plan built on previous plans?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're all going to
absolutely.
be connected.
Yes. Yeah. There's a comprehensive review of. I've went through every single one of your water quality and natural hazard policies already, and so yeah, we can add that in here. There is the
I'm gonna leave it up to you what you want to add, but it's that last bit of bottom of page 1 in the old plan and the top of page 2 of the old plan.
Okay, I'm trying to think. I do believe there's something similar to that. But let's add that in there.
Well, just like I said, take a look at
Yeah.
it. So
Okay. I'll put a note.
If it doesn't add value,
Okay. I'll put a note on page 1. Check bottom of page 1, old plan.
and top of 2.
Okay. All right. All righty.
Well, a question. In the old plan, you had, look, I've tried.
I was like, you
Sure
did
you
good.
I gotta keep up with Vicky. An old plan, there was a paragraph or section on the organization of the report.
Mhm.
Do we need that also?
We can put that in there. Yeah, I can add that on
It's
one
bottom
as
of
well.
page 2.
Okay.
Wes?
Yes, sir.
Just as a matter of being more like Vicky, at the bottom of the last bullet point on 1.4, if no filling of estuary internet, between no and filling, it looks like there's 2 spaces.
Yeah. Sometimes word is weird behind O's.
Perfection is a reasonable goal.
How could you?
I didn't tell him that.
No, that's okay.
She sent him a text. I saw.
Thank you. All right.
We move to 1.5, Vicky?
When you guys are ready.
We're ready.
Okay. I had some issues with the vision statement.
Okay.
I would like to take out the section within parentheses, within local, state, and federal guidelines, because I think that goes without saying. I've written a lot of vision statements, and one of the things that you want to try and do is to be very clear and concise. And you don't want to overburden a vision statement with things that are, I saw you roll your eyes, Tim. You don't want to overburden a vision statement with things that are obvious. And that's one of the things that I thought was kind of obvious. And of course, we're going to stay within local, state, and federal guidelines. So I think we should take out that
That's kind of
phrase.
like a base requirement that you gotta
Yeah,
follow
yeah.
the law.
Right,
That's
we're gonna follow the law. That's a given. So I thought we should take that out. I'd also like to have more of. Could somebody define what it means by inclusive? Where are we going with that? What does that mean?
I am not sure. This, of course, with context, this is your current vision statement. So I didn't come up with it out of the blue.
Right, and I
Inclusive
wouldn't
as
say
opposed to
Every camera
exclusive.
permit that I issue has that statement in it.
Inclusive,
It's required.
yeah.
It's required. No, local, state, and
Oh,
federal
oh, like
guidelines.
local-
It's
yeah,
required.
local
It's
state,
hard to
yeah.
have a regulatory
required.
document
Yeah.
or any kind of document without referencing those standards, or else you really don't have a standard.
Sure. I do think, though, to be
Ocean
fair,
Heights doesn't have that.
the vision statement probably doesn't need to be in there. But it's up to you guys. Inclusive to me would mean that you're welcoming, that you don't necessarily want to put a gate up, but I know that may not be the disposition of this board, but that's what it would mean to me.
Yeah,
I think
I would
I think
say
Greg is right.
that you don't exclude by race, religion,
Okay.
that's
I'm
what
just
I would
asking.
read
Okay.
it to mean.
Okay.
I mean, you gotta change it from inclusive to welcoming or something like that.
Holden Beach should utilize available resources to maximize its full potential, and then if we left that out, and strive to be an inclusive, wholesome family community that continuously focuses its present and long-range planning, economic, and developmental efforts to protect and sustain its recreational beach, its residential character and natural resources, and the supporting services of the town, public and private, for the next generation of town property owners and residents.
It's long.
It's really long.
I would think that you could get rid of, you've already said that you want to be a wholesome family community. To me, that would mean that generally you want to be a residential community. So, that second bullet perhaps could go. I don't know that you need to have, it is your vision statement, something regarding supporting services of the town.
Well, I don't even know what the private services of the town are. What are the private services?
Yeah, that one's confusing.
So, and we do know that protecting the beach is very important to folks. But so I would think out of those three, that bullet should probably remain in some form or fashion, whether it's just wrapped into the statement. But that is just my thoughts on it.
Well, I mean, if you wanted to shorten up a little bit, you could take out all three of those bullet points and just
I
concatenate
think
that
we
last
just have
sentence.
the first
of that.
sentence, all that, Holden Beach should utilize available resources to maximize its full potential. Cut it right there. I mean, that's,
Or
right?
you could put a period and make new sentences. And it wouldn't be such a long.
All right.
It could
And
be
you could
separate
get rid of,
fonts.
on the very last sentence down there, just leave it at for the next generation, because we're not just doing it for the property owners and residents, we're doing it for everybody in America, who comes here to enjoy this wonderful place, and so it's not just for property owners and residents.
That's true.
Yep.
That only works if you leave inclusive in.
But we can, that can
We
be.
didn't say keep,
Yeah.
we said keep inclusive.
Okay.
I'm fine with keeping it inclusive. I just wanted
Yeah.
us to talk about it.
Yeah, we're not figure eight island.
Holden Beach should utilize available resources to maximize its full potential and strive to be an inclusive, wholesome,
Comma.
Yeah, you need a comma after
Yeah.
wholesome. I don't know how
Yeah.
that ever got like
yeah,
that.
wholesome.
Yeah,
What you can
wholesome,
say,
not the community.
you can say residential instead of family. You already say wholesome there. An inclusive, wholesome residential community that continuously focuses its efforts to protect and sustain its recreational beach for the next generation.
Well, I think our survey points a lot to the residential character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we heard that pretty loud and clear in that survey, that we like the residential character. We like a few of those little restaurants on the island, but we don't want Restaurant Row, and we don't need, I don't need a mall anywhere on the island.
And the other way we can try to work on this is I can put something together for you guys to review, sort of based on, rather than trying to come hit it on the
Well,
solve
I
it
think
here.
that Vicky's tack was good in terms of
Sure.
identifying things that shouldn't be in versus trying to find
Yep.
things that.
I do think we should leave family in
Okay.
because we call ourselves the
The family
family
beach,
beach.
yeah.
Okay.
So I think we should leave family in.
Family, residential character, something about maintaining the beach. Those three
The
things.
recreational beach
Yeah.
is big.
Okay.
I'm not sure we need that last bullet,
No.
because I'm not sure, I don't understand what it would even mean.
Right. So if you guys are comfortable with it, I will try to hash something, draft out, and then we can talk about it. And we've got a long way to go on this, and we can
Yeah.
I would be
continuously
good with that.
continuously evolve the vision statement.
Yep.
All right.
What do you have to say?
I answered my own question in American Community
Are you on
Survey.
to, at the top of 2.1, land use plan, does it need to be capitalized? Very first sentence.
Yes, we do need to be consistent about that,
Yeah.
and I will ensure that that's the case. Thank you.
I did have a question about the American Community Survey, which populates some of these charts.
Mm-hmm.
It was 3.5 million people are surveyed nationwide each year, right? And then how is that data segregated? It's by county, right? But it's not by town?
They do. They do smaller sample size updates. So the census is every 10 years.
Correct.
That's a full 100% count. They're trying to go to every door. They're trying to get a hold of all of us. And then the American Community Survey is a sample size of that. And it is populated by each jurisdiction that essentially the U.S. Census looks at. The detailed numbers aren't there in some particular classes of data they do not capture, but population, basic economic statistics, housing statistics, they all do samples of.
Okay.
And they're statistical samples, and they are not as accurate as the census, but it's the best we've got unless the town wants to spend twice what they're paying for the land use plan to go out and
Okay.
capture the data.
I was just wondering because that's what's used for a lot of these.
It's the best thing. I mean,
Okay.
there are, and to be fair, there are other private data sources. I have found that the level of accuracy is pretty much similar.
Okay.
You know, unless you are paying a firm to come down here and knock on doors.
No, thanks. Okay.
But there are some things in here that, you know, it's problematic when it comes to even the 100% census count for beach towns, because some folks are here at certain times of the year, and it's tough because you have a pretty small sample size to begin with. So, okay. All right. Questions on 2.2? 2.3?
Pretty big drop between 2000 and 2010.
I agree. That seemed odd to me. But 2000, or sorry, page 2.4.
I have questions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had one question about almost a third of our population is kind of young, less than 54,
Mm-hmm.
here on the beach. Where are they?
At Greg's house. If he moves, our rate goes, our average goes up to about 86 or something.
Honestly, really.
Yeah, I mean, that is.
Five.
I see it.
I run into some of
Under
them
five.
And there's
doing
700.
inspections.
7 and under.
That's a good thing for the town, frankly.
Well, sure it is. I would just like to
Find them.
find them.
Yeah.
Yeah, where are
Let's
they?
have a party.
Yeah. You know, you're compared here with Brunswick County, which is a little bit not fair because Brunswick County has a skewed age by population as well. They tend to be much older. But, you know, I think that's a positive statistic for the town, certainly, that you do at least have a couple of younger folks. And I will say that out of all the beach towns I've worked in, this, you know, to have a younger participant on the committee, this is a first, I do believe.
All right.
Harry's our one and only whippersnapper.
Well, and you have to realize those numbers are very small. So
Yeah.
Greg's 5
It just
kids under
makes a
10
big
Yeah.
difference.
really
Yeah.
does make a big difference
Yeah.
in a population of 633
That's right.
people.
That's right.
They're out there.
Yeah, there's other families.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I've met a couple.
All right.
And I just want to make a comment, though. The last paragraph of text, it says, this is a result of younger residents moving to other areas for reasons including school and work. Part of that's probably also housing cost, that it's probably difficult for younger people to live here
Sure.
because of housing cost, not necessarily school and work.
The
Yeah.
average house is $406,000.
It'd be tough for young people to live here.
That's true. You should see some of the costs nowadays in Wilmington. But yes, and housing costs. I will add that. That's a good point.
Well, and also the age of our residents increased by nearly 11%. I think that's another reason for us to look at the AARP stuff that, you know, you had brought months ago. That was all I had on that.
So I have a question on 2.5. We actually still have that motel?
No, I've got that in my notes for him to take it out.
Okay.
Motel's gone away.
Okay.
I thought we didn't have
Are you
a
talking about
motel. I
Captain
drove by
Jack's?
there and I'm like,
It's in both
no.
2.5.
With Ocean, isn't there a motel down at the pier?
No, that's the one it's referring to, and it's not
There is a
there.
pier
It's
motel.
closed.
No, not down there. The one down here.
Oh, yeah.
That was the one.
So this is the one it's referring to. If you look at this Oceanside Motel, it's at the pier, 441 Ocean Boulevard.
Yeah, that was my
West. So is
It's
there a
still
motel
here.
there?
Yes.
Is that a
Where?
motel?
Yeah,
Yes.
because we
Is it a
had, we,
motel or is it just a
Yes.
house that's for rent?
No, you
No.
rent from the pier.
yeah, because we,
Is it
we,
in that
Four-
building?
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
no different than renting from
Rooms.
Allen Holden.
It's that L-shaped.
I don't know that, I don't know that under the standards that can be considered
Motel.
a motel.
it's the closest thing, I guess,
Ain't
to
no
it.
hotel.
Well,
We-
it's a room for rent.
It is a
Yeah,
room.
but there's places,
Not hourly.
is it a room for rent or are they set up like small apartment like things?
It's for
It's a
rent
kitchenette.
on a nightly, because I even had one of our interns call and confirm.
Oh, okay, well, if you confirm that, then we're good.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Love it.
Not for long.
Okay.
And I think
That
there-
goes
are there
against the
only
ordinance
4
as well.
units?
Okay.
Is that right? There's only
We
4?
can't have a
I thought
hotel.
that was-
Or it's transient, that would make it transient to be more than,
We got the
if
transient
you're only
dock,
staying
we
for a
want
night at a time,
transients.
that's a transient. The only thing that's allowed to do that's that campground up there.
I was gonna ask you about that.
That
'cause I know
motel that
that's
was
your-
over there could have done it, but only because it had been there for so long. But those places up there aren't designed and built for, you can't use them like for an R2 occupancy for a motel or a hotel.
They've been there a
And
long
they won't
time.
meet, I don't think they meet some of our criteria in our
They're
ordinance
falling apart.
for a motel.
Well, but they've
Well,
been
they're
there a
coming
long
further
time.
apart right now, yeah. But so's their little shanty he's got hanging up there.
Yes,
So-
but they have been there a long time too, also.
So they may be grandfathered as well.
Yeah, no,
60.
but still, they're not on our
60s.
list. They're not on our list for the
Okay.
fire. They're supposed to get fire inspections. They're not on that list.
No.
I mean, they got a multitude of issues just because they were here for a while, just like the one down there.
Right.
They still have to comply with the rules.
Well, he's gonna be sorry he
Amen.
answered that phone call.
But I could have swore that I've seen people up there before, and I had inquired. I'm pretty sure I had inquired.
I've had guests stay.
Maybe I didn't make the phone call and ask them if I could rent it. Instead, I asked how they were renting it. So maybe they knew
They
what
know
the
who
answer
you
was.
are.
Yeah.
No, you are.
Okay. We'll check into it. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see if that needs to stay or not.
Okay. For now, I mean, it's not a big impact on your
Call me
seasonal
real quick.
population.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually got to be removed right here. That was one of my things that need to come out of here. 224 parking spaces.
I figured you must have update on that.
Yeah, it's 226.
Jeez.
Okay.
Where is that?
It's
Okay, wait, wait,
226.
Are we on
Seven
2-6?
already.
We're on
Yeah,
26.
yeah,
We're on 26. The committee came up with 226, which changes your 1344 to 1356.
Okay.
Are we on, wait,
Yes,
We're
we're
on
on
page
2-6.
Page 27.
2-6.
2-6.
Well, it's both places, actually.
Oh, I'm over
It's
here.
both places.
okay,
Vicky's still on 2.5.
I'm up at still at 2.5.
Okay.
So only 1 in 5 people are married.
Where do you see
I'm
that
looking at
You're on
1.2,
2.6, Vicki. You're on 2.6.
2.6, sorry,
Mhm.
table 2.5.
Sorry, what?
Persons per unit, 1.28.
That is, yes, that is based on, and that's pretty
Yeah.
standard for a retirement community. You have your empty nesters, and there'll be a number of units that a spouse has passed, or
Okay.
it's just,
That's just wrong. I don't think that's correct. I think more than 1 in 5 people are married here. I
We're
think
not
that's
married,
just,
living with someone.
or living with someone.
that,
1 in 5 people have more than one. I think that means that only 1 out of 5 houses have more than one person living in it.
now this is
Right?
this is of your occupied year-round residents.
Right.
But this is what American Community Survey says. Again, I didn't go knock on doors.
Well, I hear ya. I'm just saying, ooh, I think it's wrong. And I also think that 1 guest per unit for a holiday weekend is what we're looking at.
We can increase that. Some of this methodology was developed by UNC Data Center, but
Okay, they need to come down here on a weekend, be a holiday weekend. Come on down.
I understand my folks have live full time in Topsail Beach, and I know what it looks like in the holidays. So there's usually more than one of us up there. But yeah, if you guys think now the 1.28, that is actual data from American Community Survey. However, if you believe that there's more than one guest per unit, let's add it. Let's increase it to 2 or 3 or 4, whatever you think. This is an imperfect science here.
No, I realize that. I just want to point that out.
Sure.
Do you want to change it?
But this is for the permanent homes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, what
So
she's saying
if you
is
had-
that,
if you had 10 people on your street, permanent residents on your street, that means only 2 of them would have, 2 out of those 10 would be married or live with someone.
Or
And all-
closer to a third. But
and only one of them would have a guest during the holiday.
We have
They'd
8
each have
full-time
one
occupants
guest.
on
10.
Carolina
They'd each have
Avenue,
one
and
guest,
7
which
of us are couples or more.
7
7 out of 8 are couples or couples with children.
Well, wrong. According to that, that's wrong.
Well, we have 2 permanent homes on our street, and there are 4 of us living there. I mean, 2 in each house.
That's what Vicky's is saying. She's
Yeah.
saying that our knowledge base says different than what our piece of paper here says, is what she's saying.
I think that might be valid for a regular retirement community, but probably not accurate for this community at all.
well,
So I don't know if
I
you
think
can-
what might be skewing this is that the age of our
Well,
community
it-
is, our average age is 61,
the way that it's
which means that
They
there's
have
more of them
lots of
still
spouse,
alive and
right.
together.
in the way that it's calculated is essentially they take your occupied housing units, they divide it by your population. So it's your total year-round population divided by your housing units. And so that's that 1.28 number.
Wes, do you see where I'm coming from? Do you understand where I'm coming from? Because then these numbers drive off our other numbers, and I'm thinking we're off base.
Again,
And I understand where
short
you're
of
coming from.
Knocking on doors.
paying whatever it would be, 6 figures to knock on doors, this is the best we got. So, we gotta, if there's things we need to massage in here, like your guests per unit, I would recommend doing that. But the numbers that are all connected, like the persons per unit, it may be something that we need to live with, and we can have a caveat in here. And as I said, our sample size is small, so it's tough, even in the census years, to get this stuff right.
I mean,
about the
if we
PLA?
try to change it, what we're going to say, this has to be data that it's driven by some
That's right.
somewhere,
Yeah, I
right?
don't
So we're
know,
just
but
going
I
to say,
just
oh, well,
also-
Vicky doesn't think,
That's right.
let's change that.
Would your
And
PLA
then,
data be
you
different?
you can't,
That would be,
I can't.
unless you did some kind of analysis, you can't
You have
really
two
have
people in
the
any
family,
leg to
unless
stand on
you're
and
the
change
same.
Sort
it.
of got to go with your best.
Yes.
Where we at?
Best source.
Whatever you want.
I
So-
don't think we can change it.
It doesn't have like quite.
What we can do is what I would recommend doing is making a note that, the persons per unit may be less. And there's certainly, I know you guys know a lot of people on the island, but there are probably some folks that you're not aware,
That's true.
know. And those are probably those people that are in there living by themselves and, are older, or they've had a significant other pass, or whatever it may be, that's where this number's coming from. But, I think the point about is if this board, this committee feels like you got more than one guest for your during your holiday times, then we should increase that.
I have never had one guest in the 15 years I've lived here. They come in droves.
Good starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's fair to at least change that number.
Okay.
What's it
I'm
change
good
it
with
to?
that.
What are you changing
We're just
it
gonna
to?
change it to 2, and it can be more.
And just make a caveat that it's probably, this is like probably the minimum as we go through and you add up all these numbers, we would say it's on the low end of what we really think. I mean, you have a good point, but I
No, I'm
don't know
just
how we
concerned
can, how we
because-
can change it when we have data that says the other.
We're looking at these numbers from, these numbers would be used for planning in the future from like water towers and
I know,
things like
I know.
that, and
Yep.
Sewers.
sewers, all kinds of things. You want to be able to.
And we'll look also when you're given
Might expand something.
when you're given chapter 4, we'll be able to pull down use data, and we'll be able to compare that I will compare that with what our population figures are saying
Yeah.
and how they meld with the seasonal figures. And it'll say, based on seasonal figures that we've calculated here, we generally think they're pretty close, and vice versa. So we'll look at that again.
One other number, we have more than, I always wonder how we have more than 800 registered voters on the island. With 633 full-time residents, and some of them are under 18. How do we have more than 800 registered? Don't they have to be full-time residents on the island to be a voter?
I think you can register in multiple
Wherever
locations,
you
but
own
I'm not
property.
going to
I know
profess
people
to
that
get
don't live
into
here
the
permanently
election
that own
law.
property and are registered to vote
You
here, right?
cannot register in multiple
Okay.
locations. That is against the law.
Well,
It
I
is
see.
against the
This
law.
is why I said I don't know.
I
We've,
think if you have.
We've questioned,
I don't know.
we have actually questioned the census.
So there you go. It's
and
probably
they-
censuses.
And, we ask how right now it's like 637. That's this year. We gained 4 people. But the vote, I did. I asked how we got more people registered than we do.
But I recently checked, we have more than 800 registered voters
Well,
on the island.
you can, as long as you own property here, you can live somewhere else and one spouse registers here, one spouse registers there to vote. They
It's-
don't
it all de-
necessarily have to vote in this.
it all determines, that's what I was getting ready to say, if they call it a primary residence.
That's right.
When you've got rentals, they say they see that everywhere, that they have someone who calls one area primary residence and another member of the family calls the other one. And it could be true. I mean, what's his name?
They don't have to live together. They fall
Yeah, we
into
got
the
one. We got one
1.2.
gentleman whose wife lives in Alabama and he lives here, and they have a house in Fayetteville or somewhere else. You know what I mean? So she's registered there. He's registered here. I actually know. If I could think of Robert.
My
Yeah,
neighbor's
Robert.
like that.
Yeah,
Ingram.
yeah. So it happens, and that's what they explained it to me, was that you have people, because they're second homes, they call them primary residents, because the wife may stay down here from 6 months and stay with her husband another 6 months or something. And that could also account for your 1.28 people.
Well, let's move on.
Yeah.
All right. What
Okay.
else you got?
Yeah, we've got a half hour left.
Are we done with 126?
Parking?
Yeah.
226, and then we'll increase that.
Yeah, it's 1356 is
Yeah.
the new number.
Wait, hold on.
Wait.
We went from 224 to 226?
Yeah.
So that's only an increase
Okay.
of 2.
Yeah, but,
It'd be
But then
13.
times-
There's a
But it's
multiplier
1.5.
he
Yeah,
used.
yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
okay, but that 226 also did not include, because we're using that to determine parking
David.
maximum days. I mean, maximum visitors.
People.
That also didn't include any private parking, like for the pier, right? And it also didn't include right-of-way parking or any other lots. For example, the lots that are here, along here, the park, any of that. Or it didn't include the marshes, which was 205 spots.
Yeah, what we have is, you're back to those available parking spaces
Yeah.
compared to public parking spaces.
Those
Right.
public lots, those were only the little bitty public lots.
I
that
got
are
'em right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
that's my
ones that we
spreadsheet.
approved, and that total is 226.
Correct.
Those available parking spots, the committee agreed that they couldn't be used because they could go away any day. They could go away any day.
Well, I'm just saying that if we're calculating the maximum number of people that are on the island for day trippers, there are definitely people that are parking in right-of-way, like down at the East End during the summer. You go down there, they're definitely parking in the right-of-way.
So-
It's legal.
So do y'all want to include all of those available spaces?
Yeah, but I would suggest that you add another column that says, so we have parking spaces and keep it to 226, and then add another column that says additional available spaces, and then have your total.
Yeah, or we can do the total, and then we can add a note that says, please note
Yep, that's fine
that
too.
226 are publicly available, and the others are
Right.
Yeah, I think we
transitory
should
in
have the
nature.
total
I
number.
think
Yeah.
in terms of
Yeah.
calculating,
Okay.
we'll use statistics.
So what's your
So-
total number, Tim?
Smart.
226 plus 55, is that right?
Those are the available parking spots. The 55 does not encompass the many available parking spaces on these side streets and stuff.
Okay.
That's correct.
There's a spreadsheet that I've got in my office that I can review, but that total gets pretty high. It's in the 300 range,
Okay.
300 and 400 range.
So you're just saying that they can park on the people's
Yes.
lawns on the
There's
side
available
streets?
right-of-way parking, and
Right.
then there's actual available parking spots is 55, and then the public parking spots are 226. So I guess in the interest of this, we probably ought to at least include the 55 and
Yes.
the 226.
I agree.
But whether you include all those parking places that could go away, especially now that we have the new ordinance, they could all be gone tomorrow.
I just know that if you're looking at it from a public safety standpoint, because that's kind of what we're doing here, how many, what does it look like on Memorial Day and July 4th and that kind of thing? They're definitely using all those spots. And
Well,
it
they're not
really
using the
looks
side
like-
streets. Nobody parks on
They
any
are
of the
down
side.
here.
Not
Yes,
down
they
here.
are.
Not down at my end. There's
They use
nobody parking on
Halsted
those
and
side
all of
streets
those.
down at the other end.
Parking.
They haven't found you yet.
Never.
Just hang on.
Well, they actually started using them last summer when we put the sign up. I actually started seeing them parking on the side streets, and they're moving further down as they're learning that they're down there.
Yeah.
They're actually learning, but it's taken them a while. Now we got a sign. So used to everybody went that way because that's where they're all at. We put a sign up that says now there's parking this way, so they're actually going down there and finding. And we did.
The carpet that they're starting to park.
Yeah, they're really starting to find those side streets. They'll find you. They'll get to you eventually. But yeah,
But
I'll put
What's
my
the
little.
What's the 55?
huh?
What was the 55?
The 55 is available
Available.
parking spots, which means they can't go away. You know, or they're available now in that area, but they could go away. And then there's public parking spots that will never go away.
Yeah.
They'll always be there unless we change them.
So it's 55 the pier. Is that what you're talking about?
No, the 55 we did not count any private parking because those could go away at any time. The guy might sell the place to
Yeah, I
somebody, and
understand.
it could be a vacant lot. I mean, that's just not there. The 55, if I remember correctly, in this list, in the 55, the two areas down there that we could develop into parking with the parking in the 800 block.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I'll have to go back and pull my notes, but I have all the. But those available parking spaces are just an astronomical number. It's like it's in the 300 and 400, and we didn't even count the ones on Brunswick Avenue. We didn't count any on the horizontal streets.
that's correct.
And so, Vicki, do you have a semi sort of calculation of that total number?
I've got 226, then I've got available parking spots of 75, and then I've got 205 on the marsh, on those marsh streets, the 4 marsh streets. So I don't have yours for the right-of-way parking. I don't have that number because we didn't.
Yeah,
mess with that.
but this is actually the part of the report that went to. This is part of the report that went to the commissioners that
Right.
approved out the committee. I'm
Estimated
not sure if
potential,
those are
I've
the.
got
I'm not sure if those are the same
Yeah.
numbers, but I'll have to. Let me see that.
So, what is the pleasure of the committee? We need to
Yeah.
figure out how to come to some sort of consensus here on it.
Well, if the goal is to make an accurate view of how many people are here during daytime
days.
visits,
Yeah.
then I think all of those places are filled on those high number days.
agree.
Then that would be a more accurate look at how many day visitors we have.
So what we can do is there's 226 public, and then we can say that there's approximately
Here they
X
are right
number
here.
of additional spaces.
There's 575 parking spaces that were available when this was done. That's unimpeded. Okay, she's got it right here. And there's and 136 on the east end. Okay, above the 575. And then there was 96 designated spots on the island, which is part of that. This right here.
222.
Yeah, and so and then you get into the parallel spots of 205, which is, I think, is the average of those two, if I remember correctly. So these
Yeah,
are the
you can
actual
have that.
numbers.
You can-
Yeah,
you
these
can
are
take
the
that.
actual numbers.
So, all right, well, I just
He
want to
just
make
wants
sure.
the final number, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I just
Well,
want to make
there,
sure.
if you listen to it, there it is right there. There it is right there. If you add those three sets of numbers right there,
Okay.
you've got it.
And then 226 of those is
That's right.
public.
Yeah, that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that number impacts long-range planning for
Yep.
this island.
Well, yes, and
And
unless
having that number accurate is important.
Well, that's also then that's going to change your. It's going to change that 16,000.
yes, it will increase it
Yeah.
dramatically. So, are we comfortable with using that number 577 plus or 575 plus 136 plus 96?
Well, all I know is that on those holiday weekends, when you come over the bridge, like from this building all the way over to Pete's is like one solid row of parked
Yeah.
cars.
You can't put
Well-
your hand between them.
Yeah. It's-
Where's that
And I-
number at? I
and
was
I know
reading
you-
that.
And Tim, I know you don't want to include.
That'd be 807.
Private don't.
800 what?
But there's a ton
807.
of people that park at the pier.
But it's,
Yeah.
but our Camel land use thing talks about the additional, it talks about the additional daily traffic. So, yeah, the way you got that written, we might need to include commercial parking as well,
Yep.
if it's available.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Because because I'm trying to find that number.
The,
I know I was
the
looking at it
intent
earlier.
is to gauge how many folks are
I mean,
here.
there's
That's
60,
right.
70
Well, if you're intending to do that, then what we're gonna need to do is I'm gonna have to go back out.
We got to review this.
I'm gonna have to go back out and don't use these numbers. Let me go back out and look at what
Good
we
idea.
have for other parking, and then I'll give you another sheet.
Okay.
Because that's right. This thing talks about the daily turnover.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not gonna be accurate without the whole picture.
And then I had another change on page 27, and it says Ocean Isle Beach, and I think that should say Holden Beach.
Yeah, I agree. I saw that too. I got that
Wait a
one.
minute, wait a
I
minute.
missed that.
Wait a minute, this is not original, this is a copy?
Where is that?
Is that the third paragraph?
Where did I get that?
Population projection for Ocean Isle Beach to be determined. Something like that.
I got it.
Anything else on 27? We got about 20 minutes left.
Speed it up.
This is-
I've only got one more class.
Okay, you got two.
I had something else somewhere. I don't know.
Where I got to- well,
Yes,
yeah,
I'll
we
tell you
went.
later.
I got
That's
one
about
on,
all
I got
time.
one on 210.
All right, anything on 28?
Yep.
29?
I've got a question on 29. Anybody else?
My question was, where are the camping? Where are the campsites?
They would not be captured in here.
They're at the pier, right?
I thought they'd be other,
Um,
or mobile homes or something.
They're not housing units.
yeah.
Okay.
But we could count if the committee wanted me to, we could count those as parking spots. And then you would pick up the additional load. We just count them as parking spots,
The
Okay.
campsites.
campsites, because they're
That
transient.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that would be other transit.
yeah.
But it still would not go into this because it's not technically a housing unit per
Okay.
se. It's not a permanent.
But it'll be more about the parking, the population.
That's
It'll
right.
go-
It will go in. It will go into yeah.
Yeah, one of our more important numbers is that daily change, that's an important number. Because I saw in there somewhere where it gets astronomical in like the year 2025.
Okay.
If you're still
Okay.
alive, there's gonna be a lot of people here.
I've got a question for you about our current number of total housing units. Can we verify that with the tax collector?
2016?
Yeah, 2,491 units.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean there is tax data. Were you thinking it's low or it's
I think
high?
it's high.
Okay.
Because if our population
Where you
is-
at? Where you at?
I'm on page 2-9.
The chart 2A.
The population is 633, and we've got 2,491. 20% of that is 498. So I just went back and backed into it.
Mhm.
So I'm going, that didn't work.
I'm confused.
Let me see.
She's questioning the total number of housing units in 2006 on the table.
Table
2.9.
2A.
Yeah, and then
Table 2A.
nearly 20% of the housing units were occupied on a year-round basis. Remember all that?
So I did just pull from Brunswick County tax data all the addresses for folks in the special flood hazard area, and I can tell you what that number is right now. 6 plus 142 is at 2,300. It's pretty close, and then there are a number of units that are not in that are in the X zone. So it may be a little high, but it's pretty close.
I mean, I'm confused. What part of those numbers do you not agree with?
2491 under 2016. She thinks that's high.
Yeah, it's almost
Better than that
2,500.
now.
Do you think?
Yeah, because we build houses every
Yeah,
year.
that's
since then.
that. If you average out the number of houses that we built over the last 10 years, that's pretty daggone close.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we double checked that number this morning against something else. It's over there. He's got a chart over there. Yeah, that was the,
New
New
construction permits.
yeah, what you're missing is the construction permits for the first 7 years in his chart.
Okay.
Yeah. That kind of,
Anything else on
I took a double look at it too, and then I just averaged out what we were doing.
I'm sorry to go back real quick.
Sure.
I just found something that I think,
Okay.
2.6.
We're backing up.
Yeah, sorry, this is my last little thing. I think in the bottom of the first paragraph, for day trip visitors as well, which will be discussed in the following sections.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's all for me.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay, we're now on 210. Anything?
There's a number on one of these charts we double checked. Do you remember? Oh, I know what it was. We actually did.
2009.
No, we actually went back this morning and checked every one of these that's in the chart.
Okay. Yeah,
And
I got
they are
this from
accurate.
you. Yeah.
They are accurate.
This chart is accurate, new construction permits.
Yeah, that chart's accurate. I was baffled at that number in 2015, but
Only 23.
yeah, that number didn't seem right until we went back and looked at it.
Was that because of the code change?
There was several factors in there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, one of them was the timing of some of those permits.
Jumped into the next year.
Jumped into the next year.
All right. Where are we? 210?
210.
211?
So I only had one thing on 211. Like it says this varies significantly from Oak Island. I'm wondering why you're comparing us to Oak Island in this instance, where it seems like in all the others, and what seems to be most like us is Ocean Isle. Why are you jumping to Oak Island?
I will put the, I think,
I was looking at that too. Hold on a second.
I can,
And
I
I don't
can
think
change.
that's correct. I don't think that the stock is valued average at 300 to 399.
What I can do is change that to Ocean Isle for consistency,
Okay.
or, and reword that.
Whatever the numbers, real numbers
Yeah.
are.
23% owner occupied housing stock is valued between 300 and 499.
What do you think it is?
Well, that's only owner occupied too, don't
Yeah,
forget.
that's
So
owner
that
occupied,
skews
but that's
it a little
still-
bit from what our real median
right.
value is on the island. It's much higher, I'm sure, than,
Oak Island is very different from us because they have
Yeah,
so much
it's-
more housing and
yeah, and
Off island.
and,
And
and,
they're
and a
owner-
variety of housing that we don't even have.
And
That's
most
right.
of their people, most of the residents over there live in the smaller homes.
right,
In the wooded areas.
way
in my
from the
opinion.
beach.
Yeah,
And
there's.
I'm not a statistical person.
Yeah, demographically, it doesn't really.
Yeah.
Ocean Isle fits us.
I was only trying to explain that you guys are much more highfalutin. than-
We get it, we get it. We see the data.
We probably have more in common with Ocean Isle.
Well, the
Anything-
numbers indicate that.
Okay, 212. Anybody? 213. I mean, how you gonna fight the data, right?
Right.
214.
Nope.
215.
Yes. Anybody else? I had down while season, it's at the bottom, seasonal accommodation active. While seasonal vacationers are vital to the local economy, the town has very few traditional motels, hotels, or resorts. We have no traditional motels, hotels, or resorts.
Not
Well,
what
except
Tim's
the-
done with them.
Except the one.
First thing I'm gonna do is check the tax roll.
Well, I
I'm
would
sitting
not
here-
call that a traditional hotel motel.
Okay.
Well,
It's not a resort.
I
You
wouldn't
never
call-
stayed there?
I'm gonna tell you from first appearances, I wouldn't call it a safe one either.
It's certainly not traditional.
Says
No, it's
building
not
inspector.
well, he can't put no. He can't put no until he verifies that we don't, because right now his data is telling him that we do.
Oh, Tracy, it is not traditional. I can't
Okay.
say
Now,
that.
I hate to tell y'all this, but our guy told us he verified it by phone. I'm gonna have to go verify it by my eyeballs. I'm gonna go see it.
The town has.
She wants you to say no.
No.
As no.
Well, I'm just saying, this
Traditional.
is,
motel, hotel, or resort.
We can have, you can say we have one non-traditional.
That's good. It's one non-traditional
One of the
Yeah.
reasons we moved.
I think I can word
You
this
can just
to,
take
to,
out
to
the-
say
it
that
says
it's
seasonal
that it, all
vacationers
of
are
it
relative
is
to the
due to
economy.
single family.
The
Yeah.
real activity
Yeah.
is single-family
Yeah.
homes,
Yeah.
duplexes, and condos. You've
Yeah.
got that in the next
Yeah.
sentence. That's
Can you
where.
just put the word lax instead of has no?
Yeah.
Lax.
Or you can just do this, say seasonal.
Well, we don't
vaca-
really want lax, sounds like we
Seasonal
want them, though.
vacationers are vital to the local economy,
That's right, we don't
period.
want
Most of
Yeah.
the seasonal rental activities is single-family homes, duplex, or condos.
Yeah.
Done.
There you go. Just leave it.
See, and then Greg's kids don't work.
Right. Yeah, not for money.
All right, we're on to 16. Anything? 17?
On 17, there's just one typo error in that first bullet. On the second line, it's got 4 even 4. I think just that first 4 needs to come out. A low percentage even for a coastal community.
Yes,
It's got
thank
two
you.
4s there.
Thank you.
Old English teacher, I can't help it.
No, it's okay. Thank you. I'm glad we didn't have more snafus.
Hey, Wes.
Yes, sir.
Take this for what it's worth. In this summary paragraph, I mean, you need to just kind of wrap it up by saying that all this data needs to be considered when you're looking at sewer and water and parking, and I mean, just so people understand why you looked at all of this and how it's bearing on. those
Sure,
things.
I can add that in that summary. Yeah.
But we have that.
It may be earlier on, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's,
that was
you know,
early
saying-
under
It-
uses. There
What
are
what
4
is the
uses.
point of the land use, right?
There are 4 uses.
Yeah, exactly.
In the beginning, on page
What
1.
what are you going to use all this for?
Well, in the there is something I believe in
1,
the
2. There are 4 points.
that there is in the page 2-1 third paragraph. Well, in this sort of the intro, impact of community infrastructure, roads, sewers, stormwater, etc. But I can still add a summary. And what you're saying is that this data is also used for comparative purposes to water sewer data, or that it's used
It's
for
used
for
to
planning.
determine the planning for
purpose,
water,
yeah.
sewer, parking.
If you guys think it's fine to repeat that again, it's important. That's fine to put in here. Yeah, I'll add.
I'll leave it to you.
Well, that's the only part that some people really read.
That's,
Summary.
Yeah.
They read just, I don't want to know all this crap. Who's go to the summary? What is this really going to tell
That's a
me?
good
And so I
point.
think that might be invaluable
Yeah.
for that reason.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to read it word for word.
Well, I read it this time for work, but ordinarily I probably wouldn't. You know, been on the committee, I thought I would, but you know.
Yeah, I was looking for the executive summary right off the bat.
There
Do I need
will
to know?
First
ultimately
paragraph.
there will be one,
First
but
paragraph, and
not
everybody's
full
on.
stuff.
The other, only on 218, the only other comment I had was, you know, it says that 41% of our people are in the labor force. I hardly know anybody on this island who's in the labor force, and so either I don't get out much. I know Ann, you work, and I know Greg, you
But
work.
not 41%.
But I don't know 41%.
Remember, one person just makes a big percentage.
I understand, but I mean, that's
people.
almost half of the island's population that is working, and I just don't see that, not on this island.
Well, he got the data from somewhere. You didn't make that up, did you,
I
Wes?
did not. I did not.
No.
A lot of work at home people.
Yeah, I mean, my
Yeah,
husband and I both
or
worked at
here's
home
the
and
other thing.
this
Folks
summer,
may
so-
say that they're a real estate investor or something,
Yeah,
and
that's
they're,
right.
you know, technically not going and punching a clock. You know,
And that's from the census?
that's from the census, yes, sir.
Okay, I mean, I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that seems odd to me.
I know that there's, like, take Ocean Harbor Estates, there's 3 people right there in the road that work. One of them's a real estate agent, one of them builds houses, one of them, you know what I mean? And his wife works as well. I'm sure their spouses work. But there's quite a few people that live here that I know work. We get a lot of them through our door that work.
We do.
Yeah.
I guess I just hang out with unemployed people. I don't
And
know.
Life of leisure.
3-generation family that lives down in Winding River on the waterway, all of them work. I think there's like 4 adults there that work. So
Okay,
So they've skewed the numbers again.
well, I'm glad they're working. I'm glad they're employed.
the children don't work,
Okay.
but they're through your children under.
Yeah, there's 3 of your people that are under that draw your average down.
Okay, so if we've got this done, Wes, did you have any more comments?
No, and I just wanted to reiterate the way We'll go through all these chapters, get all the comments. You'll get one full booklet, and then you'll have time to review it, and we'll go back through and make sure we made all comments.
I have one last question on 218. How did you come to the 19.8% of occupied all year? How was that number? Is that calculated, interpolated through all that other data?
That's census data. That's basically your permanent, your occupied housing units.
That's one I still think's crazy too, but it must just be my neighborhood. Okay, then,
Nobody lives in your neighborhood.
He's got chapter 3 to pass out.
does anybody?
I will. I know that there's public comment. I'm going to hand this to you. Last thing.
Okay.
I mean, I can hand them out now, but
How about if we call for public comment while you hand that out real quick?
sure.
Public, is there any?
Quite honestly, it's very hard to comment when we're hearing corrections, but we haven't.
I
We
know.
haven't read it, so we're kind
Thank
of getting
you.
snippets.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's interesting.
I'll share some comments. Some of them are based on my reaction to the survey. And when I was looking at the various pages of the survey, it kind of refreshed my memories.
Okay.
There was one question that told improved flexibility of regulations. I didn't understand that one at all because, in my view, regulations are law. Flexibility is applied in the judiciary maybe, but I would think we would want regulations that are clear. So I didn't understand the basis for the question.
I think probably what that is that are our regulations so overbearing that it prohibits growth on the island? Would be my interpretation of that question.
For example,
that's the
flexible
outcome.
zoning,
Well,
like you can build a single family or multifamily on the same lot.
Right. I just
Versus,
didn't see
like,
the
no-
application to the land use survey document once it's finished.
Yeah, I think the difference is that there's land use regulations and regulatory rule, and then there's regulatory law. And both of them can exist in the same thing. But I think the context of this is that, are we so restrictive that you can't build on our lots? That's what this is encompassing. Or do we have so many rules that have to go with our land use that no one wants to come here and build or live?
And the town can change those laws.
Right. And because that's not really a regulatory factor, it's not a public safety issue.
Okay,
Kind of thing.
thanks.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be in the document, but there's a fair percentage of other responses, and I would hope that they end up in the document because maybe some insights into those others.
Yeah, the comments.
Yeah. Because of lower percentages are included in the analysis. Maybe some insights are there.
That is, and that's one thing we didn't discuss. So some of the things that are in those comments are not productive. And so,
My big chuckle.
You're sparing our feelings.
so I would not.
It was a statement.
No. And it's something that's going to need to be discussed, how they're distributed. And so what I would recommend is that you guys can get the full dump of the data, but I would not recommend just carte blanche throwing those. Folks say a lot of things behind the computer that they probably would never say, and it's typical of all these surveys. So I'll be happy to, and I don't know, Tim, is that something that you need to discuss with David before we release the full kit and caboodle to the committee?
I don't think David gets to say whether this committee gets to see that data.
Well, but yeah, it is.
Another perspective may be.
That's it. He's probably trying to protect me. I feel sure there's probably a whole lot of comments about me.
Well, when you talk about regulations, that may be.
Yeah.
No. Well,
I don't want people to like you.
That's exactly right.
I tell you what we'll
That's his
do.
job.
Next time when we meet again, you will either I'll send it to Rhonda, or I'll print out the full thing, And we won't get into the business of distributing these out via email, but you'll have
Yeah,
hard
I
copies.
agree that's a better way to do it,
How's
not
that sound?
electronically,
That's good.
yes.
Okay?
I don't believe he was finished. speaking.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
But since we're talking about that, another perspective could be to let, it's a public document, let the folks reading it make their own analysis of it. I'm sure logical, well-meaning people will be able to see when somebody says, throw a computer out the window, that
Yeah.
they don't understand that's not validated. But the question on roadway drainage, obviously we have nothing, we have no power over Brunswick Avenue. So my interpretation was we were asking about the street roadway drainage. The relationship to Holden Beach question, I think it's question number 8. It's one category that got the highest was property owners and full-time residents, yet the other category was full-time residents. So that would overlap the data. I wasn't sure if there was a reason why it was. I'm a full-time resident and a property owner, so I would.
I think you had
fall
to choose
between
one,
the
didn't
two.
you?
Yeah, so you could be a second homeowner or a property owner like you own a lot, or a year-round resident property owner, or you're a year-round resident renter.
So there was an overlap.
So the second property owner or owner was relating to the second property owner. It was just
Say that one more
You only
time.
get to pick one.
Yeah, you had to choose one.
no, you pick 3 of each.
Not in that
No,
particular
okay.
one,
All right.
not that one.
Okay. That was my mistake. I'm not sure why off-island residents of Brunswick County are part of this survey.
Because it went out to a lot
That's
of
been my
people.
point all
I don't
along.
mean
They
to
don't pay
be-
taxes.
Disparaging about their opinion, but their forum for that, I would think, would be the Brunswick County Board of Commissioners.
And it is. And we had very minimal response from those folks.
In fact, I
And-
think we discussed putting it in there so we could catch
that's
if
right.
somebody was filling it out that was off.
And we discussed how this
We
would be made
actually
available.
changed the choices so we could identify that person.
And we've talked about filtering it out, when he's gonna give us the data with that filtered out, so we can
Okay.
see what it looks like.
I think you had a lot of great discussion on about the details of the analysis that came from the American Community Survey. I would say that we are so unique in our demographics that it was natural that we would see that these percentages, I would really question why we even have it in there unless we're required to. That's just a comment. I do feel strongly that when we title this document, that it not be the CAMA survey, CAMA land use survey, that it be the Holden Beach land use survey. We've had that discussion on the regulations. We understand the CAMA regulations,
You
but
mean the land use plan?
Yeah.
yeah, land use plan. Thank you. Because I recall a few years back when we were discussing things, I'd hear the CAMA plan, and I was thinking regulation. And I just think the clearer we can be about the documents, the better. So I would encourage us to call it the Holden Beach land use plan.
I think that's the plan, right?
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
the plan.
Yep.
Okay. And lastly, I really applaud this committee for the work you're doing because I think it's long overdue. Important decisions being made on the results of this that would reflect the will of the people, which we attempted to do at least with the survey, so I applaud the whole process. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else? Let me really quickly just review that the next P&Z meeting is Tuesday, November 27th at 4 o'clock p.m. We will have the cargo elevators. Yeah.
Really?
And possibly revisiting parking. Then Tuesday, that'll be the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. Yeah. And then the next land use planning will be January the 27th, and that's not the 29th, correct?
22nd.
22nd.
22nd. Yes.
22nd.
Yep.
I'll change that.
P&Z's
I need to talk to you about the cargo list.
Okay.
We've had a conversation with North Carolina Department of Public Safety.
Okay, we can talk about it. Well, that's our tasker in front of us is the public list, so,
Yeah, you'll see what I'm talking about when I tell you.
okay,
It's not we got to change something before we change something.
that's cool.
Yeah.
But that's in front of us for planning and zoning on November 27th, which is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving.
Do I need to have mine installed before this meeting or after this meeting?
You might want to wait after the meeting.
Okay.
Right now, we've got a.
I can be grandfathered.
Remember what I told you about the 60E, them stepping in saying that what we were presenting was wrong? Now we've got that new ordinance. Well, it's.
I heard there was an insurance.
P&Z's at 2 o'clock, right?
P&Z's at 4.
Four. This
We'll
is
be at 4 o'clock.
What, I'm
This
sorry,
meeting
before,
is at 2.
yeah, it's
2 on the 22nd.
2 on the 22nd.
2 on the 22nd of January.
And
Mike McIntyre.
you all will be sent.
Okay. Oh, he looks like
The only thing that you'll be sent is those filtered out survey results. There won't be any analysis, just be the raw summary of the non-resident. It'll just show the charts.
Just like the chart
Yep,
that you
yep,
showed us.
yep.
Perfect, thank you.
Very good.
Last time we were supposed to send Tim questions of concern.
Yes.
A week early. Is that,
It-
you still
it-
want that?
If you don't have to, if there's something that's really concerning, then certainly send it in advance. But
Remember, everything's still.
Tim,
yes, this is all, and remember, this is all draft, obviously. So if there is something that you feel like I need to look at or research, or Tim or Rhonda need to look at in advance of that next meeting, please do send it.
So can I just clarify, next time, you're not going to do any of these updates that we just talked about until the very end?
We're only going to have one revised document. Otherwise, what we get into is versioning snafu, and
Okay.
there's
So we just got to make sure that we're
Keep your
marking
notes.
this up as we right.
keep
Okay.
your notes.
So we can
Yep.
compare when we get the new one.
and we are taking minutes as well.
Yeah,
So,
we're keeping the minutes. We'll be able to go back and listen to those. Were those minutes that you listened to? Are they available on the website?
they
Heather
are.
can put
Everybody.
them on there.
Yeah, everybody should go listen to them. If you've got any question about what we discussed, but yeah, we'll make. Everybody's making notes, but keep your notes because you're going to want them when you get that final draft to go back through.
and so far, it's not like we have made a substantial amount of changes.
No,
so,
we haven't.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to wrap it up here, so
Yep.
I call for. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.